And we are on. So,
Oh,
hello, Noisli. I'm Serena
hello.
Maric.
Hello.
I'm in Sweden. Who are you? Where are you?
I'm Sabine. I'm from Italy, but I'm currently in Berlin, Germany.
I'm Stefano from Italy as well. And yeah, we are working out of from Berlin.
Okay, that's great. How is it in
And
Berlin? Is it cold?
it was actually nice the last week. Today's a little bit colder, but it's fine.
It's fine.
It's
Okay.
slowly becoming spring also here.
Yeah.
The sun is shining. We're not complaining.
Oh, that's so nice, Well, I'm also from south of Europe and it's not sun and I'm complaining a lot.
Can imagine.
And this is why you have this sound, this particular sound I wanted to talk, but we will come later to this. Can you please introduce Noisely what is Noisely? What is that?
Yeah. Sure. So Noisli is a service, a product that basically provides background noises that help you to concentrate or to relax.
Okay. And how you came to this idea that this should be sound? Why is this sound? I'm just going to minimize your picture to show how Noisely looks like,
Sure.
and I'm going to uh, put this sound. Can you hear Noisely now as we speak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Noisely. I'm going to add a little bit of rain to our conversation.
Yep.
So this is Noisely, and actually what we can do is change sound patterns.
Yeah. You can create your own
Yeah.
custom environment. You can mix and match the different sounds. You can customize the volume of each sound, so you really can create a custom experience to whatever you are looking for or whatever you need, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful, but how did you arrive to this solution? Who is the target group of Noisely? What did you think of?
So basically, we started Noisely because it was out of our own need. So basically, we were working from home. And back then, it was really difficult to kind of like motivate yourself and to stay concentrated in an environment where it's actually always too silent. And what happens when you are in an environment which is too silent is that every spike in noise is really perceivable. So you're really distracted by whatever is going around you. And we knew the science behind background noises, right? So we were searching about different tools that could kind of like help us, because we knew that with a little bit of background noise, you can actually mask other noises around you, and it kind of like inspires your creativity. It keeps your motivation going. But we didn't really found a solution that fit our needs. So that's when we then actually created it for ourselves in the first place. But then we put it online, and then we really saw an amazing response from people all over the world. So it kind of like started as a side project initially, a project for ourselves to solve our own problem. But then we slowly shifted and spent more time working on it until it became actually then a company.
But does it mean that did you work with sound before?
No, not in particular. No.
Okay. So this was something that you wanted for yourself. You
Yeah,
created the
Yeah.
world for yourself.
yeah.
Interesting. And you didn't have any plans to become global company to satisfy many tastes, or what was the plan? What was the target group? It was just two of you, or
Yeah, basically, I think that's why, or at least I hope that's why you kind of like feel it in the product. We didn't start, okay, let's start a company and let's make money, and what should we do? Oh, let's do this, right? No, we started from another interest point of view. We started of doing something that we liked, that we were the first customers of our product. So we really designed it to, it had no ads in it, because why would you put ads in it in something that should
Yeah.
help you to concentrate, right? There was no business focus at all. It was really just a product focus, and how should the product feel, and how should it look like, and how should it function, to really kind of like meet the purpose of the product itself. And then, since it was really appreciated by other people, then we turned it into a business. So it was not business first and then what product should we do, but it was product first, and this is actually working, this is actually something that people need, that people like, and then we turn it into a
Yeah,
company.
and how many users you had to have to push you toward business thinking, you know? Was it some kind of large number of users, or how did you came to this?
I think it was more the feedback that we got. Like, we were never user numbers driven. We were always driven. Like, we got a lot of press from international newspapers, especially American ones. But it was really the user feedback and the amount of user feedback that were really saying, hey, this is changing my life. Hey, I don't know how I would survive my office space without this tool, right? So that because we come from a design background, we're both designers, so you really feel like, okay, I'm doing something meaningful here. I'm doing something valuable, not just for me, but for other people. And I think that's always been our main driver. Like, we couldn't do it if there wouldn't be this value proposition that we personally feel we do something that brings value.
And I think also, like, seeing the impact that you do every day on others people's life, it's like the fuel to continue working on the project, on the company, and like continuing developing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you have here also writing pads. You
Yeah.
say distraction-free text editor. I find this quite interesting. I mean, and in the terms of interaction design process, you say you're designers.
Yep.
Can you say something about your background and how you arrived at this interaction design solution? How did you think about this?
Okay, so we actually studied product design, so industrial design, so physical goods. We didn't actually nothing to do. I mean, yeah, there was a little bit back in university, but it was mainly focused. I mean, it was visual communication, but also really product design. So when we started Noisli, we didn't really had a background in user interfaces or user experience like it is perceived in the web design world or application. But I think it was a good thing because we didn't follow any standard procedures, but we started from the product and what the end result should be, and what do we want from the user, what do we want, how the user feels, what should the user see when he comes into the website. So we started kind of like from that perspective. And for example, the text editor wasn't even there initially, but it was kind of like a development because we have always been in close contact with our users, and we saw that a lot of users did writing while they were using Noisli, right? So at one point we were saying, okay, a text editor would actually make sense so that you can stay into one platform and just don't worry about formatting, don't worry about, oh, should I make it bold or listed or whatever, but just kind of like keep the flow going and offering.
Is this application for writers?
It can be for writers, yeah, sure. We have a lot of writers that use Noisli.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think also,
yes.
If I can add, like having, like since we saw that many users were also writing while using the service, as Sabine said, it's also like embedding a text editor inside the website meant also to really decide how the experience also of your writing is. So that's why we decided to go for a text editor that doesn't have any formatting or like just basic things. So we could really like offer the experience that probably the user were looking for while writing. So just text and your thoughts.
Yep.
I'm very interested of the design process. You say you are designers, but product designers. So you are educated to bring something, say, real. And then
Mainly, yes.
Yes, I mean in offline life, something you would basically touch. So you were thinking from that perspective, as you said, what these products should do, how it should feel, and so on. But
Yeah.
how do you come now to the product where you have to think about interaction? I mean, you have to think about the interaction design also in the physical realm, but I mean
Yeah.
about user experience in digital. What is the shift you had to go through in your thinking wise? What was changed, let's say, from the beginning? Did you make any mistakes? How you designed this? How, I mean, where is your menu? Where is the interface? How do you describe your interface?
I think there is not really much difference between like designing physical products and digital products, because if you think user first, so if you really have to boil down like to what does the user need from your product, what does the user want to achieve with your product, and how do I make him like in the position to achieve this goal. So I think when you think in this way, you really think, okay, where is the user using the product? For example, if the user is using the product from a mobile phone, then the interface, of course, has to change to reflect that the user is using the website or the service from a mobile phone. So everything has to be on a reach, like you have to reach it with just one hand, for example. So you have to use the interface with just probably the thumb, and everything has to be in that circle that the thumb can reach.
I think we have been really. I think it was an advantage that we didn't know, as I said in the beginning of the interview, that we didn't know, like we didn't think of, oh, and now let's do a cross-platform browser application or just responsive and put it on the mobile. We didn't know those words back then, kind of like, so we were really, okay, now the user is on the phone. What should the user be on the phone? It should be reachable with your phone. So we really started from scratch thinking.
But you started from the phone. It was first developed.
No,
No.
it was web first.
Web first, and then you went on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And also there,
sorry.
so also there, like the shift from web to the phone was due because the user that were using Noisli were also like needing the service while on the go. So that was like the natural shift from web to the mobile phone. So what the user does in that situation is really like working on the laptop computer, and then he stopped working on that. He goes like outside the office or outside the house, and then he goes into the train. Maybe there is no internet, so you need offline connection. It's really like a mix between user behavior, the environment where the user is, and how you present your website or your service to the user, so the interface. So I think there is really a mix.
Yes, but basically, if I understand well the way you developed further on from the beginning, you get the feedbacks from your users and then you try to satisfy the need. So you have a lot of users saying, we would like to carry it on, and then you started thinking, okay, this should go to the other platform, we go mobile. And then, I mean, is it user-centered design in that sense that you follow the need, or how you develop your application?
We really stay in close contact with the user, so the user certainly has a big impact on ourselves as the owners of the product, but then it goes through our filter. So if some user requests something that for our vision for the product doesn't fit or doesn't make sense, then we don't do it. So it really, I mean, it's listening to the user, yes, but then it's just basically it's not listening and satisfying their needs, but it's listening and understanding their needs. You know what I mean? It's user understanding, okay, because people don't often know what they really need because they're not the user interface designer, the product designer, but you can understand the user and you can understand their problems and you can understand their needs. So people didn't say we want a text editor. They never say that.
How you differentiate, what users say and what user need?
Well, that's I think you need to be really sensible and understand the user, understand the situation is the user is in, ask a lot of why questions, and then obviously when you do that on a daily basis with a lot of users, you get a good overview of who is your user, and then obviously it's ourselves, our vision for the product, where we want to be in the future, how we want to present ourselves, what should Noisli be, and you combine all together, and then it's easy to make your decisions.
I think it's like really what the user wants is like the single feedback that you receive from a user, and what the user need, what they need from the service is like the all the feedback together, and you see a pattern, and then you see that, okay, then there is a need. So it's like really single feedback is what a user wants on a single base, and then you have like all the feedback together.
But how do you collect these feedbacks? Do you have experiments working with specific users? Do you pick target groups, or you get some, what is the analysis background?
So since the beginning, it was always a close contact, mainly all through email, through social media, so Twitter, Facebook, and we really stayed in a lot of contact. So I just recall in the early days when we replied to every tweet we received. We really went to the 1,000 a day limit replies on Twitter. But when you reply to 1,000 tweets a day and you click on every profile picture, on every profile of that tweet basically, and you see the person behind it, and you read their bio, or you just scroll through what they're tweeting about, spend just 2 seconds more on each user. And you do that 1,000 times a day. So you get a pretty good feeling of who is your user. Are they writers? Are they developers? Are they in the creative industry? And so that kind of like really helped us to get a good feeling of who is our user, who is our target group, and then to make also decisions on what makes sense to you.
But sometimes you also have to maybe where on what you're looking for, or also simple conversations. So it really depends, like from which answers you are looking for.
Sorry, I haven't heard your last sentence. Something was wrong. Okay. If you can just repeat your last sentence.
Sure. I was saying that sometimes like you also have a like other kind of conversation with the user. For example, like you call maybe with a user, or you ask, you send a questionnaire to some users. So it really depends the medium and the type of conversation that you have to the user, to the kind of question that the kind of answer that you want from or you need from the users.
Thank you. But when you started, I mean, you had obviously very close contact with your users. You get to know them and everything. And then you go back to the people who developed the application. Who are they? Where are they? Are they some close friends around you, or you went somewhere else? Who are the developers?
It's us.
You developed the application. That's great. How you did it? I mean, if you're coming from the product design, how come you know to code?
Yeah.
Self-thought?
More or less self-thought. Like at the beginning, when you do like the first version of the website, and like the first trials and the first prototype, it's like it came like we did it really, the coding and everything.
What did you use? What was your first code made on?
HTML, JavaScript, CSS, so really basic things hacked together. So a lot of research in internet, because of course coming from product design, you don't know everything about development. But really, like I'm like very curious person. So really a lot of research in internet, what I needed, and I just went like step by step and tackling all the
problems
issues
you find.
that come up afterwards. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I'm really glad to hear that. And then you did the same thing to move the platform from the web solution to go to mobile, or you also did the mobile coding?
No, the mobile we
No.
developed with a friend of ours. Yeah.
Is he also Italian?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is very Italian application. That's interesting. I was thinking about this. So no one was asking these questions, should we put this classical menu? Is it going to be horizontal or vertical? Did anyone ask where is the interface? Or
No,
your
you're
answer
the
would be,
first.
I'm the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so there is no need about thinking about that. That's very interesting. Because what I was first impressed with Noisli, I
Yeah.
thought this is so easy to use. There is
Hmm.
nothing, there is no abundance of information. You just press a button, you pick the sound, and there is nothing more to do because this is exactly what I want to do.
I'm
So
happy. I'm happy. I think that's a big, big compliment for us because that's exactly what we wanted. That you finally come to a website and it just does what you want, and there is no clutter, no distraction around you. That was
yeah,
our aim.
this was
Yeah.
this was so impressive. I even bought your application. I'm very
Thank you very
difficult. I'm
much.
not buying applications, but I was so impressed and I said, but look at this, there is no information, there is no sweat. I don't want all this information. And I was also thinking a lot about the sound. And I think that sound is basically not really used a lot on the web, that we are kind of backwards in that sense. But
Mm.
when you think about sound and you think about colors you're using, I'm more now
Yeah.
about colors. Do these colors, I mean, how did you pick these colors? Do they have a role?
They certainly have a role in sense of
Because I'm just going to tell to those that are watching, I'm going to switch, yeah, so they can see that the background is changing color.
yep.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the the colors in the website are like now they also are like a kind of identity of the website. So normally at least when we started developing Noisy, I cannot recall another website that has like all these colors in the background changing slowly. So it really became part of the identity of the application. But they also have like um, how do you say, like a purpose because they are there. So also like the cycling and the timing of the cycling is really like putting you in a situation that you can enjoy the website, enjoying what you are doing, enjoy while you use the service. So it's really like putting you in a situation of calm.
Yeah, because it has this kind of like breathing. For us, it was always the effect that we wanted was, it's like this breathing of colors that fades in and fades out. So that was kind of like how we wanted the website to feel, and also the colors, the selection of the colors was really based on not being aggressive, but really kind of like calm colors that in the whole scheme would kind of like make sense. So there's no really black color in it, although it would be actually
Plain
great
white.
for contrast to the white. But no, we didn't. It was really it had to make sense in the whole kind of like and how we wanted to present the product.
But did you go through any transition color-wise? Did you start with one green and said, this green is not good, we go for this green, or these colors are here from the beginning?
I think they are pretty much here from the beginning.
There has been some colors that have been taken out because they were maybe also getting from the feedback they were maybe too bright or
for the text editor, for somebody who was writing on the text editor, it was too bright. We then also actually there is a feature on the website where you can stop the cycling for the background color. That's mainly for writers because some colors were too bright, so you can actually choose to stay on a little bit on a stronger color that gives you more contrast to the white text. But other than that, the colors have been pretty much there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And how did you come to picking the sounds? I mean, I'm very interested about the sounds. First, I like the clarity of the sound, the quality. Quality is good. Did you record the sound?
We didn't record it, but we sampled them.
You sampled. Okay, but you
Yeah.
have made the samples. You don't have some kind of audio professionals who work
No,
on it.
no,
It's
we did it.
it's
It's
all
again self-thought.
Yeah,
yes, self-thought. I think it's very good. And
I think like
yes, yes, yes.
in
Please
the
go on.
whole in the whole process was more like we want the audio. How do we achieve to have the audio we want? So it has to be like, let's say, I don't know, I want rain, and is this the right rain that serve my purpose? So that was like the driver, let's say.
Yeah,
For,
and I think in the selection of the sound, it's combined of research. So we did our research. We knew natural sounds are really beneficial. Natural sounds, especially rain, are natural white noise. White noises are great in masking other annoying noises. So the selection of sounds is really okay. Which sounds are great in masking? Have masking abilities. For example, the coffee shop is really also from a research. Then we took out all the spikes in the noise, right? So
What
because
kind
the
of research you went for a coffee shop? This was one of my very interesting sounds. How did you come to
um,
that? I'm going to turn off all other sounds. Just give me a second
sure.
so we can hear coffee. Please tell me what kind of research is defined this noise.
So basically, with coffee shop sound is it's the following. So if you are in a room and there are only two other people, let's say you're in a bar and there are only two other people, right? You can clearly hear their conversations. And if you want to focus on something, you got probably distracted by it because you can really pinpoint out every word they're saying. But if this room is now filled with 10 or 20 people and they're all talking kind of like at the same noise level, then it becomes noise. It becomes background noise. And then it's not anymore distracting. So that's why a lot of people go into coffee shops to concentrate and to do their work, or to, if they're working remote, they're working, that's kind of like their office. But why that is because at home maybe it's too quiet, or in an office it's too loud because of the office noise. Whereas a coffee shop can give you really this mingling of sounds where you cannot pinpoint any conversation out, and that's perfect environment for you to focus.
But this, what you told me, it's coming from your personal experience, or to
No, there is
arrive.
research on that.
This is what I want to know. So you were reading a
Yeah.
lot of research, what kind of noise influences us to relax or focus or be more
Yes, a lot
productive.
of
Okay,
also natural, especially natural sounds, and how the masking ability works, but also the influence on natural sounds and how can it help you to reduce your stress and to be more motivated. So,
and
and
how,
then
yes,
yeah, please.
yes. So go on. Yeah, because I wanted to connect to this, noise sound. Because
Yeah.
usually, I would say that the white noise would be destructive, or not to say positive sound. That it was perceived as a
Mm-hmm.
negative sound. And then I
Mm-hmm.
come to Noisli and I see, I'm going to turn off a coffee shop and turn on white noise. How did you arrive at that? Did you have this in mind when you started making Noisely and said we're going to make white noise in the background?
It's certainly white noise is one of the most famous background noises, but if you think of it, rain is a natural white noise. So when you think, I mean, it's two different things, right? Because white noise is when the TV is broken, right? When it's all
Yes,
this kind of
yeah.
thing. But on the other hand, white noise and rain are pretty much the same in kind of like the pattern of the sound. So we as human beings are used to white noise. Also, when a woman is pregnant, the what the baby is hearing is kind of is white noise. That's why babies like to sleep with white noise instead of pure silence, because they're used to that kind of thing. So it's actually really a natural thing. I mean, the TV static is just a thing that humans build, but rain is a really natural
yeah,
white
you have
noise.
like rain, waterfall. also like leaves rustling. That's also white noise, because basically white noise is like a mix of different frequencies.
Of all the frequencies you can
together.
hear. Yeah.
This is very interesting. I mean, and also the whole process I find very interesting, because as you were developing the application, you were learning a lot, researching a lot. So basically, you also improved with the application. So you know much more. Yeah, and now you can tell so many things about the sound. And this is actually, I mean, basically what happens in the process of learning. You have also this fan.
Yep.
That's interesting. You know, I thought, Jesus, who needs a fan? You know, why would I need a fan? And then when you put these crazy combinations, you know, like I can hear a fan in the forest, and I can be next to the ocean.
Yep.
You can be basically wherever you want with like.
And this is yeah, exactly. This is how you actually create a completely new experience, and you elevate from some traditional perception of the sound, because I can be in cafe and hear the birds and the rain and train.
Yep.
I want to go to train. I'm going to turn off forest and fan and come to train.
I think it's one of the main parts of application is really that you can customize it, right? Because everyone grew up in different areas, and everyone has such a sensible feel of what is their own experience, and how, where they grew up, and what it reminds them of, and what relaxes them. So it's really important that we give kind of like this power to the user, that you can really customize it, so you can really decide, I want to be in a forest, and I was always in this cafe next to the beach, right? So you can really create different sorts of ambience.
But yeah, this sound of the train, this is how the train used to sound. This is not the train today, isn't it? Like that, yeah?
It's what I think people recognize.
Sound.
Yeah, you know, when you put a high train on it, there isn't that much sound anymore nowadays.
But this is my next question about this timeless design. For example, I was thinking about my son. He's 10 years old, and of course he's a very good user of everything, you know, games and so. But if you play this sound to him, he doesn't know what is this sound, you know. I was testing him, and he said, you know, because I mean, when we started traveling and everything, and this was from his early age, you're mostly in the plane, or you would be in a car for some local trips. But to get in a train and to hear this sound, you really don't hear this sound. And for him, he cannot connect to any feelings. And the sound is having the role like the smell. It puts you immediately like teleported some other time. Yeah. So I hear a train, you know, and I have goosebumps. I'm traveling somewhere with my parents, and it's lovely, and I can immediately relax. But for him, he's looking at me and saying, "What is this? Why we are listening to this?" Or another sound. This was maybe the most striking sound. Was this one? It's marked with this moon.
Yeah, summer night.
Summer night.
It's crickets at night.
It's crickets at night, but this is the crickets of night of south of Europe. These are not crickets of night in north of Europe. So,
you're totally right.
Yes.
It's very difficult to please, like that's what I said, right? It's very difficult to please the whole world, because users are saying to us, "Oh, can you please remove that? Because when I grew up, it's not like how I used to be."
It didn't sound like that.
It didn't sound like that. So in our sound selection, we really try to find the most standard sounds, or the most universal sound, but there are definitely those nuances that it's impossible to please everyone, because as you rightly point out, crickets actually sound different just based on the temperature, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So because of the south of Europe, they have a higher frequency on how it sounds, but while as in northern Europe, I suppose it's much more quieter, the pace, simply because they chirp based on the temperature. So I know it, and it's really difficult to find to propose just one sound that works worldwide for both hemispheres. It's almost impossible.
And
so.
also, like in the case of the train, I think what was important for us is like trying to get really the standard, the ideal for, even if your son doesn't understand the train, like the train still has like this rhythm, this repetitive sound that serves the purpose for
Focusing
when you are working or focusing. So it's like repetitive, and that's like that's important. Like, so we have to find really a balance between the sound, the function, recognizability of the sound.
I think actually that you're tackling something really important and something really big that happens in our conception of our reality. Because for me, when I hear the sound of summer night, I mean, it's a big emotional thing, I'm directly transferred to I can feel the temperature, I can describe the space around. And I was, for many years, as I live on North, recording this sound and bringing back with me because I miss this sound. And then I was in some kind of generational clash when I play this sound to my son, and he says, "Why you're playing this to me? What is this? Why we are listening to this?" I mean, he doesn't have any contact with it, And then I started thinking how people actually create reality and how different sounds to us mean different things. I mean, how you're going to develop Noisli, thinking about that? What are your plans? Where are you going to go from here?
We currently, so based on the sounds, there will certainly be a few more sound additions. But again,
what are you going to add? What? Yeah, this is exclusive. What and why? Why are you going to add? And are you going to give me, for example, in some next version, capability so I can add my sound? So I customize adding with something, I don't know, from my neighborhood?
That's not planned at the moment. For now, it's really just us curating the sound because, again, we want to help the user to educate why there are certain sounds and why they're suitable. So basically, in the end, how the real normal life happens is that some user comes to a website, needs to focus or relax, just clicks one button and then should be good to go to do whatever they want to do. So we really want to help them achieve that result as soon as possible with less clutter possible. So there will be new sound additions, but they're curated by us. And again, they are the most general sounds for a certain type of thing. And they certainly have to follow the purpose of the website. So they have to have no spikes in it. They have to have really on a constant level and good masking abilities and kind of like helping to mask outside noise and then really help you to focus. So that's from the sound part of you.
But any other part of you that you're going to develop? What is the future? I mean, how do you see? I mean, are you following now your kind of commercial success? What are you doing now? Is this your business?
So right now, we're working on a new version of Noisli that will bring more variety to the sounds. There will be some more features for the timer, especially to help you to do concentrated sessions of working and kind of like help you to do that. New sounds and some new features that will, as I said, bring more variety to it. And that will kind of like be the next step for the product itself.
How are you going to protect this simplicity in user experience and interaction design? I mean, how you're carefully going to cherish this, what you so successfully developed?
Protect, you mean like...
I mean, you have so many options, and there are so many options by technology, and there are so many things you could do sound-wise, and then when you start adding new features, then it becomes more complicated. So how it stays so beautifully simple? in the
I,
future? How you think about that?
I think we have to think a lot about that. I mean, it's like the job is really like understanding what do we need to implement and filter out a lot of things that maybe would be nice to add, but they don't really serve the purpose or they wouldn't be so intuitive for the user. So it's really like a work of thinking what the user need, thinking what the service need, but also like filtering out. It's like, I think it's more like filter than we try to filter more than add. So really like have the
How do
essential.
you filter? Where is this decision point? How do you
Yeah.
cut off and you say, how do you have this power to decide?
I think one of the things we're always asking ourselves is, okay, at this point, what does the user want to do? And once we know that, then that kind of like gives us an idea, okay, in this moment, I need this, this, and this. Could be a basic button or whatever. And all the rest I don't need. So how do we get rid of the rest?
Okay,
And
so,
it's the
so
same thing without like all of the additions or.
Exactly. And then thinking, okay, and
but
from
is
here,
it two of you who are making this decision or someone else?
yes, no,
Yeah.
it's
It's
us.
coming. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And we're also there will be a redesign of the website and a lot of things. When we did that, it was really thinking, okay, what does the user need to see? What's the next step of the user, and how do you make it visible in the moment he needs that feature or he needs that tool, and can we hide it otherwise, right? So always kind of like think of leaving just things there that need to be there in a certain moment and not over cluttering it. Or if you bring new sounds, how do you make actually sure that those new sounds are not becoming overwhelming? How can we simplify by actually adding new sounds? Like, how can we simplify by actually adding complexity to the whole product, obviously? So that's something we really care about and we really believe, or it's kind of like we want really to nail it. We want really, that's Noisli, that's what Noisli should be known of, kind of like care of details and care of the user and really getting rid of all the clutter you don't need and help you make decisions or make it easy to use the product. So,
and the process itself is also like a lot of iterations, maybe also on the same elements of the interface. So for example, you lay down a first version of the interface and then we try to make like all this, the workflow that the user goes from point A to point B. Is there a better way? Yes, there is a better way. So, okay, let's change what we have done so far and trying to really iterate so that we can reduce the number of steps that the user has to do the same thing.
Yeah, that was a big point. So we really thought a lot about, if my user comes in every day, how can I get rid of certain steps? What is the usual workflow and how can I make that easier, right? How can I not make you every day click then here, then here, then here? And I just do one click and then that's it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like was a big thinking for us.
And sometimes also like, for example, we have like many colors on the website. So how can we make so that the user with every color that there is on the background understand where every element of the website is? So when you're, for example, we have a lot of colors on the background. If you make like a really white button, then the user understands, okay, that's the button, because he has like a clean interface and you can like with colors and with where you position the menu, you can really like make the user do something or the user understand where something is or so. But this has to like really being, you really have to think it through and
I
try
think
it. And
in our case, one of the funny thing was that since we have this changing color background, we're basically just working with percentages of white and black. Usually on other website you see maybe the big red button or the big this, and you can really use color to kind of like point the user in certain directions. But in our case, we really didn't want to change or compromise on the feel and in the aesthetics of the website. So the color changing background will stay, but then if we added new things, we really just had this span of gradients of white and gradients of black to work with a certain color, and kind of so that was challenging. But
also like the symbol, when they are deactivated, basically they are 50% white, and when they are activated, they are 100% white. So basically, with just one color, different shades, you made two states of the same button. So it's really like
simplifying instead of adding a new color.
Not just the interface, but also the color you choose and every element you choose.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is this amazing thing you managed to do, that you basically worked in a very simple environment and you delivered the same user experience. I mean, it's logical that when it's 2% then it's off, and when it's 100% that it's on. You don't need red. You don't need disturbance. So I'm really, impressed with what you did.
But even in the text editor, for example, when you write, the menu disappears because you don't need it. So
yeah, I saw it on the editor. Yeah, that it becomes. I will show it again.
So even there, it's like you trying to be in the shoes of the customer, of the user, of who is writing, and really thinking, do I really need, when I'm writing, to see the menu, or do I just need to see the text and the words that I'm writing? So it's really like being in the head of the user and trying to understand, what do I need in this precise moment, and what do I don't need.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. If you don't have anything to add, I'm really grateful for your time. This is really interesting, and I will keep following what you're doing. I'm so impressed with your work, and I hope we stay in the future contact.
That would be nice.
Sure.
Yeah, I will just close this interview by stop recording this.